Understanding the use of physical and visual barriers is fundamental to the park design process. Physical and visual barriers can be used to direct people's movement, define space, and create the desired experience. A physical barrier restricts the movement of the individual either in part or completely. Barriers can be natural features like the lake at Lake Artamesia, where the water acts like a fence. Likewise, the pond behind the amphitheater at Craig Ranch in Las Vegas is equivalent to placing a fence that restricts movement to the entrance along the walkway. The barrier can be man-made and obvious, like the fence that prevents shortcutting the Switchback at Fallingwaters in western Pennsylvania. Each individual makes a decision to go around the potential physical barrier or to go through it. The railroad and metro track overpass to the entrance of Lake Artamesia demonstrates this point. The planners wanted people to use the overpass with its lengthy ramps rather than taking the shortcut across the railroad and metro tracks. The 10-foot-high concrete wall on the left is a fairly formidable physical barrier that forces people to use the overpass. Objects around 3 feet in height begin to become effective physical barriers. In Centennial Park, in downtown Atlanta, the shrubs are roughly 3 feet high. They are also thick and dense. The path on the left is not that much out of the way. The obvious choice is to walk around the shrubs and use the path on the left to reach the memorial. At the Philadelphia Zoo, close inspection reveals a fence partially hidden by vegetation. The fence prevents children from climbing up on the lion and demonstrates the use of vegetation to soften the impact of the fence. The following situation at Centennial Park demonstrates the issue of making a decision to go around or through a potential physical barrier. Walking across the street, many people would consider walking through the shrubs to reach Guji. The shrubs are not much of a barrier. It is easy to walk between the shrubs rather than walking around them. In contrast, most people walking on the sidewalk will walk around the shrubs. Lengthwise, they constitute a barrier, and it is easier to stay on the sidewalk and simply walk around them than walk through them. In this scene, the thickness and density of the plantings encourages people to go around the plantings, although there is some evidence that people cut the corner. Although people could easily step over this 2-foot-high fence at the Philadelphia Zoo, they will most likely follow the sidewalk. In contrast, the wrought iron fence on the wall behind it, with its pointed spear tops, is a formidable physical barrier. A visual barrier restricts what is seen either in part or completely. Over 6 feet in height, the dense vegetation is an effective visual barrier separating Centennial Park from the street. The hedge is also an effective physical barrier. In Houston's Discovery Green Park, the sculptured trees provide a visual and physical barrier for anyone sitting on the park bench. They separate the park bench from the street behind the bench. Anyone sitting on the bench feels as if their back is protected. In addition, the trees and other barriers define the space and help to create a solitude experience. Returning to Centennial Park, trimming the trees opens the view to the sides. This reduces them as a visual barrier. Open and closed tops and sides are discussed in the sequencing video. Shrubs grow and change the visual scene. In this scene at Centennial Park, the person's view sitting on the bench is blocked by the hedge from watching the people playing on the field below. The shrubs may need some trimming. If the person stands, the view of the field below is no longer blocked. Physical and visual barriers can be used to define space and to create an outdoor room. The video on outdoor rooms discusses the use of barriers to create its walls and ceiling. The following scene is from the video. A Vest Pocket Park in Charlotte, North Carolina. It demonstrates the use of brick walls and shrubs to help define the walls of the Vest Pocket Park. The use of barriers defines the space in the outdoor room and creates the experience. The use of physical and visual barriers to design space and to create an experience is clearly demonstrated in the backyard renovation of the famous landscape gardener Humphry Repton. In the before watercolor, the fence separates the commons or triangular area from his backyard. Leaning on the fence, the wounded soldier returning from the Napoleonic Wars suggests that Repton would have little privacy. In the after watercolor, the hedge defines the backyard. It creates an enclosure. A physical barrier, the hedge is also a partial visual barrier. There is no question that the common area is now part of his backyard. The before and after experience has changed dramatically. As he smells the roses, Repton would feel secure sitting in his backyard, watching what was going on in town. The dog leg at Big Cat Falls at the Philadelphia Zoo uses a combination of physical and visual barriers to create mystery or anticipation of what is around the bend. The dog leg effectively extends the length of the trail and creates interest and anticipation. See the Big Cat Falls Interpretive Trail video for additional details. In summary, the use of physical and visual barriers is fundamental in park design. The discussion of barriers is included in other videos, including the Big Cat Falls Interpretive Trail, the Outdoor Room, Visual Zones, and Sequencing. Physical and visual barriers are used to direct people's movement, to define space and create outdoor rooms, and to design the experience.